Okay, so try to answer these questions first before you watch this video to get the right answers. But if you haven't already figured out, the bigger the variance and the standard deviation, the more difference, or the more spread out the scores, the more difference between the scores. Now, how might the variance and standard deviation change if we looked at the ages of your grade only? So we did an example where the whole class lined up and we had 16 and 17-year-olds, even maybe a couple of 18-year-olds. What if we looked at only the juniors or only the seniors? I'd like you to try to draw in how the curve might look. So if you see, there's actually 3 different curves here. One is really wide and low. One is sort of in between that, where it peaks at a different point, but it's a little bit narrower. And then there's one that's even more narrow in the middle here, but definitely has a mean, median, and mode, a very high point where the frequency is very high for a certain number of people to earn a certain score. So how do you think it would look if only the juniors or only the seniors? Try to draw the curve and then explain it. So if I'm looking at only one grade, I'm going to have a very narrow and very small difference between the ages. So you just want to explain why you drew what you drew. It would be a narrow distribution. Again, because there are fewer differences in the ages, right? When there's a more wide distribution, you have a bigger difference. The bigger the variance and the standard deviation, the wider the differences in the scores. Now, how might the variance and standard deviation change if we included the staff, faculty, and all the grades in the school? So now we have freshmen who some are as young as like 15, maybe even 14, 13, and we have even the teachers where some could be as old as 40s, 50s, 60s. How might the distribution of ages look? And I hope that when you made your guess, you said there was a much more narrow, or I'm sorry, not narrow, but not as narrow as the one before, but a much wider distribution, because the difference would be greater. Also, we might not have as high of a peak because maybe our most frequent numbers, yeah, they might be in the 16, 17. There's probably more 16, 17, 18-year-olds out of any other age in the school, including the adults, but it wouldn't be as high of a peak maybe as if we looked at the whole grade, where there are only maybe like 500 16-year-olds. Now it would sort of spread that out and flatten the mode. All right, thanks.